This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is. How you doing, my brother? You doing good?
I'm hanging in there, Big O. A lot of injuries this week. Some devastating injuries. Got a couple of teams with both DK Metcalf and Breece Hall. Not looking forward to the news today.
No, I'm with you there. That's going to change some things. We're going to get to that. Send in your fantasy football questions. Remember, it's a hell of a lot easier for me to get to them on the Welt and Rayom text line at 855-912-1056. And, of course, right here, nice and easy on the chat board. I can see it right in front of me on the YouTube chat board. Send in any fantasy questions, transactions, trades, anything you want to make a move for. And of course, we'll get a little preview of Monday Night Football tonight because, yeah, of course, it's an exhilarating one for fantasy players. Woo! Yeah,
wouldn't be a primetime game if the Bears weren't involved, right? This is their third primetime appearance of the season. I believe this is the last one, though, so you won't have to endure this much longer.
Thank the Lord. Yeah, thank the Lord. It's like old Yeller, put it out of its misery. Jesus Christ. Michael Carter with the Breece Hall situation. He should be a handcuff already, but that's a guy I would imagine that if something is, it looks like an ACL now with Breece Hall, Michael Carter should be now in the mix.
Yeah, it's going to be bad news for Breece Hall. I think you need to view Michael Carter as somebody who can deliver like 85% of the production that Breece Hall was going to give you. He was, he's probably already rostered in most leagues. I think his roster percentage coming into the week was 65. I am like in that elite club that actually dropped Michael Carter on Sunday morning in a league because I had to make a move to cover a bye. I feel terrible about it. I'm sick about a lot of things, and that's one of them. He's a good player. He's a good receiving option for a team where the quarterback really struggles to throw simple screen passes. But he's a versatile player. Again, already had some standalone value, and now he steps into a situation where he's going to get all the touches he can handle. So Michael Carter, pretty clearly one of those guys. He's out there in about a third of Yahoo leagues. So it's probably, if he's on the wire for you, it's probably an 8-team league. But obviously, he should get scooped up and is going to be plenty productive. He doesn't have that break the game potential, I feel, that Breece Hall did. You saw Breece Hall's splash play.
He's more of a flex or a bad 2 is what you're saying.
He's going to be like a low end RB2. There aren't going to be very many weeks, I wouldn't imagine, at least not right away, in which we actually rank Michael Carter as oh boy, must start, potential blow up spot here. He's not exactly that guy. Be interesting to see how much work Ty Johnson gets, probably a little bit. So he's going to be involved in well. That's the guy you can actually add. Not that it's terribly exciting, but Ty Johnson probably going to get a little burn here too.
A little less exciting because he helps you with nothing in PPR, but he is a sledgehammer. And former University of Miami running back Gus Edwards with the Baltimore Ravens, is he an option right now?
Oh, he's a great option. He's among players who are actually available in over 50% of Yahoo leagues. He's pretty clearly the number one ad this week. I was thrown by it. I didn't think that in his return he would get thrown into the fire quite the way he did, but I mean that was clearly the case, right? 16 carries, I want to say it was 15 or 16 carries, 66 yards, couple of touchdowns, couple of short touchdowns. That guy came in averaging 5.2 yards per carry for his career, and the coaching staff loves him. They've always loved him, right? They've always leaned on him. He's always been sort of the 1B there. And you can expect him to continue to be featured in that role. As you say, he's no kind of receiver. They've never really used their running backs that way in the Lamar Jackson era. So I wouldn't expect that to suddenly spike. So you're not going to get any sort of PPR bonus. But it doesn't matter if he's scoring touchdowns, right? And he blew up in a great spot this past week, and he's pretty clearly the lead back tied to a team that wants to run the ball all day. So it's a great situation for him. And you almost, you kind of got to tip your cap to the Ravens for. I know it still hasn't worked out with J.K. Dobbins. He had a little setback. Had
another one.
Had to go back for arthroscopic knee surgery, which is really unfortunate. But the team, to its credit, has been very patient with these guys. They haven't thrown them out onto the field at the first sign that they might be able to return. Right? They were really patient with Gus, and it certainly paid off this past week.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Devin Duvernay is clearly the MVP of that team, not Lamar Jackson, right? When you
Yeah,
watch him, because
in terms of
Lamar's offense,
expectation.
yeah, that gamble that Lamar took on himself, it is not paying off, by the way. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's still going to end up paying off for Lamar as long as he doesn't get hurt this year. It's not going to be the worst gamble.
But not the numbers that he wanted, that he thought he
Right.
was gonna. He's not even coming close to those kind of numbers.
He's
And
probably not going to get the
the
Deshaun
passing
Watson deal. But
stats,
I don't
the
like. I'd
passing
be.
stats are hurting. But go ahead.
He's just such a rare quarterback, and he can put the ball like anywhere on the field. Let's let the season play out before we decide exactly how much money Lamar may have cost himself or may have earned. He's just sort of a one of one quarterback. So, if he's not giving you 300, 400 yards a week, you can still find other ways to win. Of course, he's found some ways to lose in spectacular fashion this year as well. So I suppose I agree with you there. It would have, if it's me, do I just lock in all of the money that they're putting on the table? I probably do. Duvernay has been the guy that has really exceeded expectations almost beyond anyone else in the league to this point. Bateman has come back, and that's obviously going to take a chunk out of Duvernay's production. It's a frisky little team. I know that Mark Andrews had a quiet week, but I wouldn't expect that to continue either.
Odell, are we at the point where we got to stash him?
I mean, he blew out his knee in the Super Bowl, and so yeah, it's possible that I think the most recent note that I saw on Odell is that they're eyeing a December return. I mean, that's think of all the guys that you can stash right now. I don't know, maybe, but
Well,
if he
if you
comes
have
back,
IR spots, if you have a couple, I mean, if you only have one,
I think I
then
still
maybe that's a
prefer.
problem. But if you have 3 or 4,
Kyron Williams is out there for a lot of people, and that's a guy who could step into a pretty significant workload for the Rams. We don't yet know where Odell's going to go. It's probably the Rams, but he's obviously eyeing a few other spots as well. I'm sure that the goal for Odell is to put himself into a situation where he can make a deep playoff run and be impactful into January. I would just be surprised if he makes a bunch of splashy plays for you in the fantasy playoffs. I'm interested in Jameson Williams. I'm interested in Kyron Williams, and sure, Odell, if you've got an IR spot, don't leave it empty, because that's just a silly waste of resources.
all right. Remember, you want to send in your questions. Welt and Rayom text line 855-912-1056. You want to send in the fantasy football questions right here on the YouTube chat board. You can send them in. Also, we will ask Andy Behrens. Follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens. And by the way, you can also send them in on Twitter. I'll pull up my my Twitter feed here at Big O Show. That's another way that you can send in some questions. On the Welton Rayom text line, we got 2 of them here. First of all, should I trade Amon for and Sutton for Hopkins?
Wow. No, I don't think so. I mean, bad luck this past week that Amon-Ra St. Brown got the early concussion and got knocked out of the game. It didn't help you. I think Hopkins is good, but I'd put him in the same tier as Amon-Ra St. Brown rest of season. St. Brown has also already had his bye, so you don't have to worry about that, right? As soon as he comes back from the concussion, I think you can assume that he's again going to be the featured guy, and he's going to see about a dozen targets per game, and he's a good shot to find the end zone in any given week. So I realize, obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is coming off the great game. By the way, how about producing your own hype video for your return from a PED suspension? Never seen it. Really appreciated it. I would love to see a baseball player do the same thing. I'd love to see a track and field athlete coming off a steroid suspension produce a little hype video and get the people fired up. You just don't see this in any other sport. That was pretty wild. So yeah, I think there's a slight overpay for Hopkins. Again, I would put him in the same tier as Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Should I sell high on Aaron Jones?
Man, what a mess. All these sell high questions when they aren't attached to specific targets.
Right.
I think it's fine to shop him. I think the Packers offense is broken in a way that cannot be fixed either with anything on the current roster or with any of the names that I keep hearing as, potential trade chips. Like Chase Claypool isn't going to come in and fix that thing, right? They have a need at receiver, and they just have a need for like a stress the defense receiving threat that is not easily found. The time to find it would have been right around the NFL draft when other teams were fixing that problem, right? When Miami was going out and getting Tyreek Hill, when the Eagles were going out and getting AJ Brown. The time to fix it is probably not in the days before week 8 or week 9. So that's going to be tough. So this is a very long way of saying that I think that Aaron Jones is still the best receiving option on the team, which is kind of crazy. But I would, I also think that the ceiling for the Packers offense in any given week is kind of capped, right? Like, and I remember saying this locally after the Packers soundly beat the Bears this year. I actually came away from that thinking that if I were a Packers fan, I'd be a little bit uptight. I'd be a little bit concerned because this Bears team is terrible. And last year, like the last time the Packers had faced them, they put up 45 and they could have put up 65 if they needed to, right? Like Devontae was totally uncoverable. And they just don't have that guy anymore. Like they had a nice little convincing win, but it wasn't the sort of win that they should have put up. And ever since then, it's just, I mean, you want to talk about a disaster. Like losing to the Washington Commanders with Taylor Heineke at quarterback is about as bad as it gets. So yeah, like if you have a glaring need at receiver, you've got Aaron Jones and you just lost DK Metcalf or something like that. Sure, put him on the trade block and see what comes in, because I don't see the Packers as a team that can possibly get to 35 points in any given game right now.
Cap for Life wants to know, Andy, is it true that the hot dog eating contest guy, Joey Chestnut, is juicing? Your thoughts, Andy?
It's a great question, and we need to look into it. It's actually probably one of the great things about competitive eating is I doubt do they test for PEDs? I hope they don't.
I don't. I have no idea if they do or not. I can't even watch that thing. It's gross, dude. It's gross.
I know.
It's disgusting watching. I can't watch that.
I like to hear the numbers associated with it. I like to, I like to hear that on the back end, but the actual watching of it, I fully agree with you. And they dip it in that water, and that's super gross. Like that's no way to enjoy a hot dog.
Who dips their hot dog in water, bro?
Nobody.
I mean,
nobody. It's absolutely
once
disgusting.
they had this mayonnaise eating contest, and some woman ate like 5 pounds. I'm like, ew, that's gross, bro.
There's no way that the prize pool in a mayo eating contest is sufficient.
I hate mayo, but I understand those of you that put a little mayo on your sandwich. 5 pounds of mayo?
Ain't gonna be 5 pounds. No,
bro. Ew. I'll be throwing up for like
vile.
weeks.
Now I'm gonna be thinking about that for like a month. Thank you.
Yeah. I traded Aaron Jones for Najee Harris. Is this a winning trade? Someone is asking.
Man, Najee has been such a problem. And no, I guess would be my short answer. I don't think it is. I'm not looking to take on Najee Harris right now. He's obviously needed. I think he is a much better, like there's, almost every running back situation in the NFL, you can find somebody who's crying out for the backup to take over. And I know that there's people who like Jaylen Warren. It's just not happening unless Najee suffers another injury. I just don't think that's happening. So volume is going to continue to be there. He was a very good player last year. He was extremely elusive last year. Actually led all running backs last season when you combine receptions and carries. Led all running backs in missed tackles forced. We are not seeing that version of this player this season. And I suspect it has a little something to do with the Lisfranc injury from the preseason, right? That he eventually came back from, then aggravated early in the year. I just don't think he's feeling like 100% Najee Harris, and he's been woefully inefficient. You guys just saw the offense. Like the offense is pretty dreadful, whether Trubisky is a quarterback or like, I think Kenny Pickett is kind of fun and he's got a little gunslinger element to him, and he'll take off and run.
He's a rookie, bro. He's a rookie.
But he's doing rookie things, right? And he's giving the ball away, and you're not going to sustain drives with a guy like that. Najee Harris needed, he really needed that situation he had with Big Ben last year, where Ben, third down, it's like 3rd and 10. Ben is looking for him at the line of scrimmage and throwing a little pass that goes for 6 yards, and then they punt. But like he caught a million passes that way, right? He really, really needed that. And he's certainly not getting it this year because Pickett is looking downfield. Pickett is like, hey man, I've got George Pickens at my disposal. I'm gonna chuck one up to him, see how this goes. So we're not getting those little bunnies to Najee Harris, and that is a big problem, and he's just not been efficient.
All right, let's go through some of the receivers. Paris Campbell, where does he now fall in the Indy mix?
This is wild because Paris Campbell has not, like, we might already be, I don't have his player page in front of me, but we might already have reached Paris Campbell's single season high in games played, right? He hasn't missed a game yet this season. That's been the issue for him, is persistent injuries since he entered the league. He's now seen 23 targets over the last 2 weeks. And guys who see volume like that, you just have to, if you're in a 12-team league or in a 14-team league, you just got to take a shot.
He's moving a flex position. I think he's a flex now.
Oh, sure. He's now, the targets are a little bit boring, right? Because he's a slot guy.
Right.
His average depth of target on the season is only about 5 yards. But Ryan has actually thrown to him near the goal line, right? He's got touchdowns in each of the past 2 weeks. And at this sort of volume in a full PPR, you just got to add him. He's available in a little bit over 95% of Yahoo leagues. So he's out there for virtually everyone. And that offense is throwing the ball like 42 plus times per game. I want to say they're playing a lot of no huddle. They're trying to work fast. Jonathan Taylor probably still not 100%. And they're putting the ball in the air, and he's getting a lot of the work. So yeah, a long way of saying that yes, in any sort of PPR format, you probably need to pick up Paris Campbell.
Wan'Dale Robinson, your
Love
thoughts?
I absolutely love him, and this is a case where there's all of the targets each week are basically up for grabs in New York, right? Like anybody who saw that game yesterday realizes that Daniel Jones badly outplayed his receivers. His receivers were mostly terrible. Wan'Dale was an exception, and the usage really spiked. 2 weeks ago, he found the end zone despite only playing 15 snaps in the game, right? This week, I think it was 29 routes, 50 plus snaps. Like, he was on the field a lot more, caught 6 balls on 8 targets, while other New York receivers were just dropping everything in sight. So I think there's a huge opportunity for Wan'Dale. You look at his numbers last year at Kentucky, over 100 catches, over 1,300 receiving yards. He was absolutely uncoverable in the SEC. Prior to that, he'd been a running back at Nebraska, right? So he's a fun, gadgety player. And he's also tied to a couple of really creative play callers in Brian Dable and Mike Kafka, right? So he's with a staff that's going to use him in interesting ways. So yes, I think the arrow is very much pointing up for Wan'Dale.
Now the important questions are coming in: garter belts and high heels, or a sexy nightie?
I'm gonna go with the first option, but this is again a situation where it doesn't have to be either or. It can be both.
It can be both. Paige Sporanic or Kylie Jenner?
I can't make a specific call here, and I would be lost.
First of all, do you know?
I don't even know the first one, and I really only know the second.
Sporanic?
And I really only know the second one.
Our favorite. She happens to be our favorite golfer on the show.
Well, okay. Well,
Kylie Jenner, or now the woman you have gotten to know as Paige Sporanic.
Yeah, let's go with the show mascot then. Let's go with the first option. Sure.
Okay.
All right. Seems like there's a lot of baggage attached to any Jenner.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, your life will go upside down also at the same time. I'm trying.
Yeah, and suddenly I'm on reality shows. I'm being gossiped about. I don't need any of that in my life.
Oh, wow. Oh man. I got to tell you, can you take that off for me there? Oh, wait a minute. I think I'll be able to do it right now. Okay. It looks like my thing has gotten, the battery is coming apart there on the mouse. Uh-oh.
Well, you hate to see it.
No, it's like the acid is coming off the battery or something. I don't know. All right, so that thing may not be working much. All right, one more: Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football?
Oh, I'm sorry the Bears are on Monday Night Football this week, but hereafter it should get better. Despite how fun that game was this past Thursday, I have to go with Monday nights. The Thursday, two of the worst NFL games that we have seen in recent memory have occurred on Thursday nights this year, and I can't get the stink of that off of us.
Amen to that. All right, what are you working on Yahoo Sports so folks can check you out, my friend?
We're podcasting 5 days a week. The Yahoo Fantasy Football Forecast. Going to do that a little bit later today. Talk about the best waiver ads of the week, and we've got Fantasy Football Live every Sunday, an hour before kickoff.
It's amazing, that podcast platform stuff, huh? It's really taken off.
Wow. Nobody saw it coming.
lot of people listen to podcasts now. They don't listen to radio anymore, but they're listening to podcasts. That's for damn sure.
Who saw it coming? Certainly not you.
No, not me. Not at all. No, not at all. Andy, much love as always, my brother. We will catch up next week, my friend. May the big wins be yours.
Thanks, brother. Good luck to everybody.
You got it. That is Andy Behrens. Follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens. And that is our Sports Grill Fantasy Football Zone.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.